Hello, hello,
Hello.
hello. Thank you for the hello. Thank you. Hello. Okay, we are coming. Bear with me for a second. Bear with me for a second. Hello, 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 hello.
Good morning, Professor.
Morning. Thank you for the good morning. I totally appreciate it. All right, we are okay. We're happening. We're happening. Thank you. Okay, make sure we're all here. People are still coming in. I feel like this class is getting bigger every moment. Let's see. Okay, we have a lot of, it's good to see you all, and I mean that for real. We have a lot of physics to do, and we will in a second, but I want to make sure of some administrative things first. So bear with me. Uh, Bear with me for a second. The main subject for today is a thing on a spring, of course. So maybe have that out if you don't mind. And hopefully, if you did it, um, which tons of you did, which like all of you did actually, I think. If you did it, and then I think you got it back, which is good. So you've got something in front of you. Um, and a lot of you got a lot of the questions right at the beginning, and then it gets a little bit trickier in the middle, and then it falls apart for many of us at the end. That's where we really, and that's totally okay. Hopefully, you all saw that no matter that if you did that sheet at all, and hopefully if you made it clear what question you were responding to, and if you did some work and you boxed your final answer for every single question, and if you made any kind of attempt or any kind of addressing of the very last question, then hopefully you all found that you got a 50 on that. Like even if I wrote things on it, or even if some things were wrong, to be even more specific, let me say, and again, maybe we knew this from last semester, but um, just to be clear, and I won't, homework is a spot check. I won't always be as thorough on the homework, and maybe hopefully you will. But uh, what I'm trying to say is, if I actually put a check, then yeah, I think I'm saying that the work is good and the answer is right. And it's especially helpful if you do please circle your answer or highlight your answer or whatever. But if I put okay, if I wrote okay or we will discuss or sort of like anything that's not a check, then sure, it is possible that I'm saying that you didn't get it right. And you would want to know that, and you would want to ask a question about it in class, or excuse me, you want to make sure that you get the material straight. If I don't put a check, like in other words, I don't want to, all I care about is the work, but I don't want to put a check on something that makes you think it's right and yet it's not right. Like I don't want to do that. So I'll tend to put okay or we will discuss. And that means exactly what it sounds like. Like we'll discuss, we'll go over this in class. Maybe nobody got it right or something like that. But hopefully you'll see that even with a we will discuss or an okay, you're still going to get 50 points for the whole homework as long as you actually did address every question. Now, when we get to the last question of this sheet, when we get to the last question, that's where that's where things get very hard. That's where there's almost, oh, I have a lot to say about the very last question. And that's where it's all, there's almost no way you can literally get that entire question right, like from beginning to end. I think there's almost no way for me to expect anybody to get it right without looking things up that we haven't talked about. And then if you look things up, they might help you, but then it's also very possible to write things down that you don't really understand, even though you looked it up. So it's very, very difficult to actually get that whole question just right and just turn it in. And if this were an exam, if I was scoring for accuracy, then like the only people that would get 100% on that very last question might have in some way done something that I might ultimately consider cheating. If but not, I mean, it's homework, so it's not cheating and all that. But in other words, what I'm saying is you should not feel stupid if you don't understand that last question yet. If you pretty much think you get the sheet, but you're totally lost on the last question, or you looked up a bunch of stuff, but you didn't know what you were supposed to look up, and then you copied it down and you didn't know if that, like, it's true. You can look up whatever you want, but I don't want you just randomly copying things down. So the only way you could literally not get a 50 or something, or not get the points for this homework, like in the future, is if you just totally left that question blank, or you totally misrepresented yourself, like wrote down a bunch of stuff that you clearly got from the web that you clearly did not understand, or like weren't even applicable, and just like wrote it. Either that or leaving it blank, then I might not give you a 50 for the whole homework. But just making some sort of honest attempt at it is what we're looking for. And a lot of you basically wrote like one line or two and then said, I have no idea. Our goal is, of course, to push, to be able to get you to have more and more of an idea as you go along. But as far as homework points are concerned, at least for right now, what you just got to do is show that you know what every question is and acknowledge it. And that's what everybody did. So I think everybody did get a 50 on that. Let me just pause for, so we're going to, but I know that but I guess I'll also say, and we'll do it there. I know we got to about question 4 last Wednesday. Question 5 is the first question on that sheet where it's very possible to do a bunch of stuff and think you're right, but actually get the wrong answer, especially if you just blindly follow the model from question 4. So in a minute, we're going to pick up from question 5 and proceed. But I do want to warn you again, by the time we get to question 9, there's a lot to talk about there. And there's no way I could, and it's the point of of this class is like to start teaching you how to do question 9. So you were not expected to just be born knowing that. And if I put question 9 on an exam right now, it would be unfair. Like it would just literally be, I could not put question 9 on an exam right now. I have not taught you anything about it, but I do consider it fair to put in a homework because homework is meant for you to be thinking about and struggling with on your own. And you're not being, you won't lose points for not being right about it. So, but just to put it in perspective, where our goal is to all get ourselves to question 9 and to understanding it. And then we'll move on. But I'm still going to pause. That's what we're doing today. I mean, so we're going back to Thing on a Spring today, but bear with me for one more second while but right now, what I'd like, before we dive into literal physics, I know some of you had me before, but some of you didn't. Also, everything changes every semester. So we're going to spend some time today, even though it's already the 3rd class, we're going to deal with administrative issues and making sure that everybody can deal with this class, like on a logistical level or on a grades and stuff. So I'm going to apologize in advance, but in a moment, what I want you to do is now that I think there is technically a syllabus in your Google Classroom, and now that a bunch of stuff has been put in the Google Classroom, I'm going to try to answer administrative questions for a little while at the risk of boring people. So for a minute, I want everybody to be silent for like a minute and think of any questions that you have like about how the class works that I haven't answered yet. If you don't feel comfortable putting them in the public chat, put them in the private chat. But we are going to spend a little time to now making sure that everybody's okay with how this class works and like where to find stuff or where to find the link and things like that. So I'm going to give you a minute to think about what concerns or anxieties or questions you have about procedures and stuff like that. So take a minute to think about anything like it's fair game right now. I still want to work those things out before we go too far. So I'm going to give you a minute to think. Can't see. Okay, questions. I'm looking at chat. Oh, no. Oh, good. Okay, I'm looking at the chat. Fair question. Sorry, thank you for reminding me. Okay, right. So number 1 question in the private chat here is, right, I mentioned the answer to question 4, but we did not go over it. I'm glad you reminded me. So we will start with question 4 today. That's really good. We will start, I'll back up a little bit on question 4 when we start. Okay, Oh, yes. And that's a great question too. The public one in the chat from Kimberly. Yes, in fact, the answer is that's right. The calendar at the end of the syllabus document, the calendar at the end of the syllabus document, which is an old web calendar, is the correct sequence of the topics that we're doing. That's right, but it's not dates. That's on purpose. That's right. In fact, hopefully it's not even, I think that's a very fair question, but hopefully I even changed it so that in the column that would sometimes be dates, hopefully it just now says like class 1, class 2, class 3 or something. So you're right. I'm not committing to dates because I'm just not committing to them because I don't want to be rigid, especially with this Zoom business and everything. Like today, I will admit that in the other, even though this is the third class of the semester, in the previous class, like an hour ago, it ended up the entire period. We ended up addressing administrative issues and concerns like about grading and calendar stuff. I don't know that would quite happen in this class because some of you know me, but it's legitimate. If that happens, if we spend this entire period just talking about how to do this class, if that's what people need, then that's what's going to happen. So that's right. In the calendar at the end of the syllabus document is much more important for procedures, policies, expectations, grading, stuff like that. As far as what we do in the class, yes, you're told at the end of the syllabus what we do, but you're told the sequence in which we're going to do it. But right, dates are going to be fudgeable. That's right. And to say to everybody, especially if you don't know me, the one reason I can sleep at night with saying that the dates, may not order won't change, but we may take longer on some things than others than we would like. And here's the deal: to assure what you get tested on in this class is what we teach. I mean, what you learn, what we actually do in the class. You're not going to have something on an exam that's in the textbook that we were supposed to cover, but that we just didn't cover. You're tested on what we cover. And then hopefully we do cover, we will cover everything that I think is meaningful, but right. So that's why the syllabus doesn't have dates. Okay. Thank you. Great question. Oh yeah, right. Oh, great. Oh, okay. So first of all, that's right. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so one thing a question. So I got 2 questions in the private chat. One of them I just responded to, but one, okay, is a fair question for everybody. How much is homework worth overall? This is a very important question. Even if you did have me last semester, it may never have been clear or whatever. And it is in the syllabus, but it's a very fair question anyway, especially now that we kind of have 2 kinds of homework here. The quick answer is a lot. Oh, sorry, I didn't even say. The question that I'm reading the question that I'm seeing in the private chat is, how much is homework worth overall? That is a very fair and important question. At the risk of boring anybody, because it's so important, let me say it right now. I mean, again, at the risk of boring anybody, this is how the grading works. And technically it's how it worked last semester, but again, I mean, hopefully we'll all be a little bit more on top of things this semester. Anyway, this is how the grading works. You have a midterm and a final in the lecture part of this class, and then you have a whole bunch of lab work, right? All your lab work together for Professor Wu, he has his whole grading system and all of that, and hopefully you know it, right? And that is in our syllabus, but you do all this work for Professor Liu, and at the end of the whole semester, you'll get one final lab average based on all your work for him. You'll have a final lab grade, and you'll have 2 exam grades from me, right? In print, that is 3 grades that, all other things being equal, or in principle, all at least begin by counting the same. In other words, lab counts for about 33% of the whole class, which is pretty much about right and about fair, because you do a ton of work in lab. So you have a lab grade. And again, I apologize to anybody who's heard this before, but maybe it's good to spot check, make sure it's still what you thought all along. You have a lab grade, you have 2 exam grades. Those 3 grades together get arithmetically averaged, like in the normal way of averaging, and they come up with one like exam average. That's like your base average in the class. That's your base exam average. It's not the grade that goes on your transcript, but it's the base average. And of course, for anybody who rocks exams and rocks the lab, like if you got a 95 on both exams, you got a 95 in lab, then your base average is a 95, and that's all. And then you'll get an A on your transcript, and you won't probably care about anything else, and you don't need to. But a lot of people won't have an A average based on their exams. So this is where all the homework of both kinds comes into play. All the homework, like regular physics homework, like a thing on the spring, but also all of these a game assignments, which I want to try to make more clear this semester. But all of those things, a game and anything that says homework on it, those are all worth points, right? Every one of those is worth at least 50 points, some of them more. And so what happens is every time you get one of those back, and hopefully many of you have gotten a couple back already, but anyway, when you get one back, you get, say, 50 points, right? You'll get a bunch of those back, or you'll do a bunch of those. You'll accumulate a huge number of points throughout the semester. And maybe some of you will accumulate 0 points through the semester. But whatever number of points you accumulate, say by the end of the semester, say you've done a ton of regular homeworks and you've turned in a ton of these class participation homework things. So at the end of the semester, say you now have like 2,000, well, that would be a lot, but like, say you have like 1,500 points accumulated from all that, which is possible because each one's worth 50, and say there's like 15 homeworks and 15 class periods, right? You might have like 1,500 points accumulated at the end. What do we do with that? How does that affect your grade? Like, that's really the question here. What does that have to do with your grade? It has this to do with it. You'll have like 1,500 points of homework / participation accumulated at the end. At the end, we come up with one scaling factor, one number that we're going to divide that 1,500 by. Like, obviously I can't, if you have a 95 average in the class, I'm not adding 1,500 points to your 95. That doesn't make any sense. But if you have 1,500 points of homework, that's going to be divided by some number. Some number, say the number is say the number is like 750. Say the number is like 75. That means we take your 1,500 and we divide by 75, and we get 20. If I did the math right? That would mean that we would add 20 points to your average. Like, now that's a lot. So am I being realistic? Is this actually a real example? Yes and no. What is real is that at the end, whatever number of points you have, we are going to divide by some number like 20. And I cannot tell you that number right now because it changes every semester, but it does not change from student to student. So whatever the number is at the end of the semester, say 20, is going to be that same scaling factor for all students. All students will take their huge amount of homework points. And a student who didn't do any homework or whatever is not being punished, but they'll have 0 extra points, and 0 divided by 20 is 0. And so they'll get nothing extra on their average. Someone who's got 1,500 extra points of homework will divide that by 75 or whatever I said. And now they will have 20 points that will literally be added onto their test average and determine their actual grade for the whole semester. Now, 20 is a lot. That's fairly unusual that someone would literally get 20 points on their average, but 11 or 12 is fairly standard and fairly typical. Like, the average number of points that people get on their average is somewhere around like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 points people tend to get on their averages. Some get a lot less and some get more, but you will get like about 10 or 12 points added to your average if you do like all these homeworks and hand them all in. And that 12 points is literally added straight to your exam average, and can make a difference, of like 3 half-letter grades. I mean, it could bring you from a B- to a B to a B+ or whatever. It can make typically about 10 points worth of numerical difference on your average, and maybe even more so that we have all this class participation involved. The scaling factor we can't come up with until the end of the semester, because we come up with a scaling factor that ensures that some people will get A's. I mean, this, to be totally honest, and to say this on film, this is our secret mechanism. It's not secret, but this is our behind the scenes mechanism for curving. We don't curve your exams as such. We do extra credit, but we don't curve your exams. We don't curve anything you do. What we do is we allow your homework and class participation to be a huge lever to lift the effect of your exam grades. And it will lift it the same way for everybody in the class. And it will lift it to ensure that at least somebody in this class does well. So in all those respects, it's like a curve. Only it's not a curve, it's just a weighting factor, because we're just saying at the end, you should get a lot of credit for the homework you do. And that should be able to save some people. A lot of people will not get A's on exams, but can get an A in the class if they do enough. So the quick answer to all that is all the stuff you turn in for homework and whatnot, typically can amount to up to 11, 11 or 12 or more, but typically it's like 11 or 12 points on your average. Does that, wait. Yeah, right. Yes, exactly. Okay, wait. So I'm looking. Oh, good. All right. So I'm trying to catch up. These are good questions. And by the way, everything I just described, I'm about to answer these questions, but that's like the ideal form of how all this works. We've gone through some, I mean, I've had to adjust during COVID. Like I've made up new systems, like the game thing is for COVID, but also, as you may have noticed last semester, I can fall very far behind, and my systems can fail me. So none of this worked perfectly last semester, and hopefully it's going to work better this semester. But yes, let me, like last semester, I think someone's asking, what was the scale? The scaling factor last semester wasn't as high as what I just said, because there wasn't as many points for last semester. But I think it was. I think the scale, I think we divided everything by like 18. I'm trying to remember. I can look it up, but there were a ton of good grades last semester. Wait, let me just see. I'm seeing if I should take it. Oh, okay. Wait. Oh, yes. Okay, these are good questions. Okay. Wait, first of all. Okay. Yeah, no, you're right. So when, like last semester, some of these things part of what I just described has been true in physics for John Jay for a long time, but this whole like class participation game thing only, of course, just got invented in the middle of COVID. So yeah, there wasn't, and in fact, I will also be honest, it's true. I did that class participation thing last semester, partly because I couldn't even deal with, I did it sort of instead of homework for a lot of you. It's true. We didn't have a lot of homework last semester. You should expect more this semester or be prepared to expect more, not more stress, but yeah, more homework just because there's more material. But but yes, you will still again have practice exams just like you will before any exam that we give. And I think we even said we were going to settle that today, but before the midterm exam, before the final exam, you will have a practice exam that will show you what the exam is going to look like. And so yes, just to answer that question. And then, wait. Oh no. Oh, what class section are we? Good question. This section is 204.01. This is .01. If that helps. Like as opposed to 02, which is we are section 01. And then now the exams are not in that schedule. That is true. In the schedule that I put in the syllabus, the exams are not. Well, I think it mentions final exam, and it's true. I think I said this on Monday. You can assume that your final exam in this class will be posted before exam period starts, like at the end of classes, and then will be due at the end of exam period. Like I think that's May 19th or May 24th. But you'll have pretty much the whole exam period to do this physics exam take home. And that's not printed in that's true that's not printed in the syllabus, and the midterm will be the same routine, but we actually said with the midterm, we can settle that when it's going to be, we can settle that today. If we do nothing else, let's settle that today. Hold on. I'm just trying to catch up with the chat. Oh yeah. All right. Now. Okay, cool. Wait. Yeah. Section 01. Yes. And yes. Oh, a given sheet. Yes. I thank you for reminding me. I will put a sheet of all equations I haven't done that, but yes, I can give you a sheet of all givens and equations. Certainly you'll get it for both exams. Like it will be printed in the inside of both exams. But yes, I should give you that before. I'll try to, maybe you can remind me by a text or something, but I will put a givens sheet, or maybe it's even that way. I might do it in a minute, but yes, you'll get a, yes, we usually do. Yes, you will have that. Oh, you don't have to convince me. No, that's totally fair. You just have to remind me. Now the game thing, there's also a question here in the chat, very legitimate, about the homework's called game, turn 1, turn 2. Okay, this is complicated. This is new. I mean, it was new as of last semester, but it's even being refined now. I'm trying to make this as easy to understand as possible, but I admit it's like a little weird. The thing with the game, any homework assignment that's called a game, or a game turn 1 or turn 2 or whatever, all of those are, yes, that is all a secret way of turning your class participation into homework. Like that is all of those, they are technically homework assignments, and all the points that you get for any of those a game things, they go into your homework point bin just like regular homework does. Like, and that's partly why why I'm making them homework portals, so that all the points can go to you. But really what they are, and with those, deadlines mean even less than they do with regular homework. Like the whole point of that a game business, and I'll try to explain it more as we get more refined, but what I'm trying to do is reward each and every one of you for any and all forms of class participation that you can feel comfortable with, right? And what I want in principle is that at the end of every day, at the end of every class day, there should be at least one portal open, so that if you did anything at all that day, whether with your voice or with the public chat or with a screen share, for every single day, if you did anything at all, you should be able to find a portal where you can remind me of whatever you did, and submit it for that day and get the 50 points. So for the most of them, like turn 1, turn 3, turn 4, for every one of those that's 50 points and looks like the same, but it's just called turn 1 or turn 3 or whatever. Each one of those is like a daily class participation thing. And the dates on them are only really to help you and help me keep track. Like, I don't care if you let a whole week go by and then you remember, oh, I participated on Monday and I participated on Wednesday. And especially if you have screenshots or something to show that, to demonstrate that, then you can fill a couple out at the same time, or you can catch up with yourselves. I'm not going to ever count any of those late or something, but it's just that they'll pile up really fast if you sort of don't keep up with them. So in theory, all those game things, it's just think of them as there's just like at least every day, just have a moment where if you participated, you should be able to find a way to remind me of that and get the points for that. Then occasionally there are other special ones thrown in, like turn 2 or the one that says your best. And we can really talk, like occasionally you'll see other ones with funky titles or maybe worth more than 50 points. And those are, there will be those are just extra other ways that you could participate. But all of them, the dates and the deadlines are kind of just there to help you keep track. So any special ones like a game, your best, or a game for right or wrong, take 2, turn 2. You notice those are both due at the end of the semester, because I'm just trying to say to you, those are special ones. You can hang on, you can apply those whenever they come up, or if they don't come up, don't apply them. So they're sort of due at the end. But every day there's, if you say anything in a day, you should be able to find a place where you can get 50 points for that. But if you hand it in late next week, I don't care. I mean, really. Does that, okay. Does that answer? Wait. Oh, wait. Yeah. You could fill it out and submit during class time. Sure. Actually, that's a great idea. Like, sure. Especially if it keeps you, sure. If you did something in the middle of class and then you could just fill it out right then. Absolutely. It won't distract me at all. So it's just, just think of it. It's like a daily opportunity for you to grab more points. And what I'll try to keep it so that just the daily, I probably never should have, the one that's called turned, I probably should renumber them or something. The numbering is confusing right now. Probably it should just be that every daily one has a number and all the special ones just don't have a number or something like that. No, but that's what they are. Yeah. Oh, you totally, for the game assignments, you absolutely could add a screenshot. That would be great. For extra assurance. Yes, you can, for sure. Yeah, I just don't want anybody to think like anything you could do to sort of prove or remind me or document that you participated is great. But I do want to assure everybody the purpose of it is not to prove. You're not on the witness stand. I'm not challenging any of you and saying you didn't participate. Now you have to prove that you did to me. The truth is, I have a pretty good memory for these kind of things. You're really just reminding me. You're just jotting down. Remember that time, Yaverbaum, when, and probably I will, especially if it was worthy enough for you to jot down. And it, yeah, let's not even get into like, what if we lie about these things? Like that would just be dumb. I'll just leave it at that. Like, don't sit there and spend time trying to come up with ways to fool me into thinking you participated. Because at a certain point, I mean, come on, it, I don't even know what to say. Like, you go for it if you want, but I think that will be, it'll fall apart pretty fast for you and for me if you try to pretend that you exist in a way that you don't. So yeah, screenshots, absolutely. Right. So I don't know if it, so this is Sarah's question. I don't know if literally every day I could promise like all three of them, but what I am promising is definitely every day, at least one opportunity for you to get 50 points. And just anytime I think of something else, I'm just going to throw it in like the one that was number 2 and the one that says your best. I will throw like, whenever I have a moment, I'll just throw in another one for like, if you put in a screenshot or yeah, if you use your voice, definitely if you use your voice, you should get points for that. And let me say to everybody, maybe this is partly what Sarah's asking, what is true, and I know it's a funky system, it takes a little getting used to. I promise you that any of my complex systems, if they're confusing, let's try to straighten them out, but they're always meant, the more complex my systems are, they're just meant to make more opportunities for you to legitimately get points that you deserve so that you can legitimately get an A. That's what it's all. I want to legitimately teach you, and I want you to legitimately get an A. And some of my systems for ensuring that are complex. So we'll talk about it as much as we need to, but please understand that if it seems complex, that's the reason. It's not to screw you or something. And all of this game stuff is optional. But yeah, on Sarah's question, you could totally double dip. Like every day you're telling me, if you are participated at all, you should be able to tell me and get 50 points for that. But say, for example, there's like a special portal like the one that's called Turn 2 that says a game for right or for wrong. That's a special thing. That's like a special way of participating that I want to reward at any and all times. And that way of participating is actually having the guts to say something that might risk hearing publicly that you're wrong. Like, in other words, you get points for putting a question in the chat no matter what. You get points for saying hello in the chat no matter what. But say you actually now go out on a limb and we start doing physics, if I get to it, and I ask about question 4 and say, in fact, I think in a minute we're going to turn it to someone who may share a screen and show us what he or she did for question 4. Now that's gutsy, right? I mean, even if they don't screen share, even if they just say, I got answer blah, right? Once someone says, I got this answer for something, or I used F net equals MA or something, once they say something that concrete and that physics oriented, whether they literally say it or they type it in the chat, what they've now done is set themselves up so that I, as a professor, could publicly say, yes, that's very good, that's right, that's totally right, which already could be embarrassing to some people. Or I might say that's wrong. And who likes that? Nobody likes to be told that they're wrong in public. Nobody, especially people who want to be scientists who have been trained to be like right all the time, right? We all hate going public with the possibility of being wrong. Yet I actually think it's my primary function as your physics professor is to get us all, including me, much more comfortable with being publicly wrong. Like the older I get, the more I think it's like the biggest part of my job. And that's when I say the older I get, I mean, the more that I notice how much it drives me like not liking to be wrong in public. It's such a character failure. Like we don't want to not do things because we're afraid of being wrong in public. So what I'm long way of saying that for right or for wrong portal, even if I explained this last semester, that is points that you get for putting anything in the chat or going public with anything that is subject to being right or wrong. Like whether I say it's right or wrong, I think you should get points for taking the risk for possibly being told that you're wrong, let alone whether I actually say it or not. So any of you who ever put something in the chat or says something. Like it's not asking a question, it's asserting something. That whether I say it's right or I say it's wrong, if you said something that risked potential rightness or wrongness, you absolutely should make a note of that in the turn two for right or for wrong. I may do a bunch more of those. So you get my, it may not be the only time I do this, but if you ever have the guts to say something that I might say is wrong, put that in the for right or for wrong portal. And here's finally to answer Sarah's question. If you put that in the right or wrong portal, because it has that special property of being subject to being right or wrong, also, it still counts as regular participation. By doing that, you still also participated. So you totally can and should double dip. Like your participation for the day, you did it. You said something. So you put it in for the turn take three or whatever. I mean, a game turn three. But it also happens that your participation for the day had this special quality of being extra gutsy. So take the same contribution and dip it into both bins. So these bins, these portals, they're kind of like when Google moved from, we used to have all folders, right? Everything in computers was folders. And then Gmail or someone came up with the bright idea of not just having folders, but having labels. And what's the big distinction there? Well, the thing is an item can only be in one folder at a time, but one item can have two labels at the same time. Like brilliant, Google. They actually broke, that was actually a major change in the way that certain people think about certain things. I'm saying that these assignment portals called a game, they're like labels. They're not like folders, really. Like where you just look at each one and say, does this apply to anything I've done? If so, I'm going to use it and get points for it. Like if it applies, it applies. And if more than one thing applies, God bless, you're getting tons of points. So I won't always do 3 every day. They're just going to be like random, but I mean, I'll do at least 1 every day, but the extras are just going to come when they come. All right. How do you, oh, all right. Now, okay, wait, another great question in the chat. Again, I warned you guys, I'm prepared to do this all period if need be. Like, I feel like this is necessary because I mean, answering your questions. I feel like this is good, just answering your questions, but I know at any given moment, if I'm answering one person's question, maybe 20 of you are like bored to tears. I apologize for that. We will do physics, but I would like to get this all straight. So yes, so I see now a question. So as long as these questions are coming, I'm going to keep answering them today. And by the way, if we never get to question 4 today, I apologize, but I will tell you this. I know so many of you did homework 1 already and it's great and you got it back. And then we already have homework 2 math methods in there. Like it just popped up. I never said anything about it. If you feel okay with homework 1, you can move on to homework 2 and start trying it. But I know I've not gone over homework 1 yet. So I promise you this much. You're not going to get homework 3 in your box tonight. Like that would stress some people out. You're not going to see homework 3 in your box tonight, and homework 2, the math methods, even if it's technically due Wednesday, believe me, we're not even getting to it until Wednesday. So I know that, and you know that. So don't freak out about that deadline or anything yet. If you know what I'm saying, it's just, we're always just up to the next thing. And the next thing will be question 4 on a spring. That's where I'm going next, but I want to answer these questions first. So, and remember, you'll be testing what we do. I hope that makes sense. So my next item of agenda when we get to physics will be question 4 on homework 1. Your next job is homework 2. Like, even though we haven't finished, try homework 2, try it, try starting it. In fact, I would recommend, well, yeah, just try there. By the way, there's some things we've never talked about. Let me be more specific. I would even say with homework 2 math methods, I forget what order the homework is presented in, but there's a piece of it that's about vectors and dot products and cross products. Don't even worry about that right now. Like that you would have to look up, and I don't even want you to confuse yourself. The section on dot, I hope everybody's hearing me right now. I'm going to pause for a second. Math methods is the homework that's due next. You really can start it without, wherever we are, like you can, and I hope you do. But I won't expect anybody to go past math methods until we get to it. That's number 1. And number 2, what I'm saying is the section in math methods that is about multiplication of vectors, about dot and cross products. I don't remember if that section is last or first, but whatever it is, don't worry about it now. What you want to worry about, whether it's hard or easy, the sections on differentiating, like where it's asking you to take derivatives of like sine functions and cosine functions, that's what I want you to warm up and try. See how you feel about those things. It may be very stressful for some of you. It may be old news to some of you, but you kind of want to see where think of it as diagnostic maybe. You want to see where you're at with that kind of math before we're going to, and we will go over it, but that's just before I forget, that's where my head is in terms of the homework right now, because I know, you know, we're doing administrative stuff now. So now there's another question in the chat, which is also totally fair. I totally want to answer this. It says, how do we view previous lectures from this class? So those are on YouTube, like anything we do does go straight on YouTube, for good or for bad. And the good news is, I think, and maybe someone can verify me, I think I finally actually reorganized the Google Classroom so that there's a separate section there called YouTube links. And that section will, like, that's where I'm putting every single lecture after it happens. I'm just putting right there. Maybe someone can verify me if, oh, yeah, and could someone just verify if that's clear, if the YouTube lectures are
Yeah,
there?
it's on Google Classroom.
That's a yes? Sorry, you're saying yes?
Yes.
Oh, great. All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So that's where, and that will be, again, more and more of these lectures will be more physics and less me just like chatting at this kind of stuff. But yeah, they'll be there. And I highly recommend, look, I think they're valuable, those YouTube lectures, but only to use. Like, no one would in their right mind want to sit and listen or watch one of these whole lectures, even if you missed class. I can't imagine you just like sitting watching it, but I think they are good to like fast forward around and see, just fast forward the lecture until things start happening on the board, and then tune in or whatever. Also, you can run subtitles. It's hilarious to me, but you can run these. I highly recommend referencing these YouTube lectures. Don't watch them any more than you should read a textbook from cover to cover. Like, that's nonsense. Textbooks don't work that way, and neither do boring lectures. But I would recommend, if you miss a class or something, or an exam's coming up, just have it in the background and with the subtitles scrolling, and just wait till it gets to key moments where calculations are happening on the board, and then maybe slow it down or something. But it's definitely meant to be skimmed and referenced, not meant to be enjoyed, because it's not enjoyable. But now, wait. So that's how you but let me know if there's any problems with that.
Is there like a playlist for this specific section?
Yes, actually, if there, for this I can do, I see what you mean. You mean like, I can do that. Right. There's a playlist for 204, but you're right. No, I can subdivide it so that there's a playlist just literally for this section. Sure. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I mean, I didn't do that yet, but I'm happy to do that. That's a good point. The one thing to all of you, there happen to be two sections of this exact same class. So also occasionally I'll just try to let you know, like, sometimes I do things better in one class than the other. And so occasionally I'll let you know, like, if I, or occasionally I might, even for time purposes, I might say, listen, in this class, I'm going to cover this, and in the other class, I'm going to cover that, and just watch both videos. I might say, so it's good to know that they're both there, but you're right. I will make a separate playlist for each of these. Oh, great. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you. Yes. Okay, cool. Thank you. That makes me feel good. And so, and from now on, I will try to I'll make two separate, but yeah, that's good to know too. Like, I'll make the playlists and everything, but it is also true that everything from last semester, last summer, it's all there. So if you ever are trying to understand something and you go to the class, to our class for that day, and you're still confused, it's possible that looking at an old lecture, it'll be clearer. I mean, of course, it's more possible that just finding a different person who isn't me will make it more clear, but yeah, it's all there. It's all there. And I guess it's the case. Oh yeah, you'll always get notification from Google Class when I put something, so you don't have to subscribe. Okay. Oh yeah. Sorry. Now I missed. There's a couple of. So the mathematical homework, math methods number 2. I suppose at this moment, technically, right now, it's due Wednesday. And I think I want to keep that. I'm not going to change that deadline. Like, I think you should try to upload some of it by Wednesday. But please, but that means don't worry about the section that I'm saying don't worry about. So if you can try, so I'm saying this to everybody, I think it was a private question, but because again, everybody seems more caught up right now even than I am. Like, everybody has made a valiant attempt at homework 1. It's my job to now go over it, and I will. But I think you are ready to move on to homework number 2. So at least try it for Wednesday. If you end up re-uploading later on a better version or something, that's totally fine. Try it for Wednesday. But I'm also going to say, and I know this is a mixed signal, it's confusing. I think it is due Wednesday. I'm going to look for it, just, to start grading it or whatever before Wednesday. But But if God forbid one of you, if one of you, it's not going to be held against anybody if you don't turn it in until after Wednesday, to a point. I mean, especially if I don't get it at all. If I don't get to it at all on Wednesday, then I'm certainly holding it against nobody if they don't. Anyway, so we technically tried for Wednesday, and I'm not going to assign any more. I'm going to wait for a little bit to catch up. But yeah, oh yeah, no. And if you know, oh okay. And I'm looking at the private chat. I hear yes. Okay, this brings someone brought up something fair about like because there are things in question 9, which we're going to get to, of homework 1, and in a bunch of stuff in question 2. There are, and this is always, I'm often going to ask you things in homework that even in the best of circumstances, because this is physics, we are learning how to solve problems. We are learning what to do when we don't know what to do. Like literally, that is, I think, the best summary of what we really try to learn in physics is what to do when we don't know what to do, right? And that's the hub of original science research. Like that's the hardest business, is knowing what to do when you don't know what to do. And I'm telling all of you right now that in question 9 of homework 1, and a bunch of things on homework 2, you'll have that feeling. Like I'm asking you to think through things that I have not discussed with you before. That is challenging enough that it can border on unfair. It can feel unfair if I'm asking you things in homework that we haven't discussed before. I'll just say from experience, it's definitely unfair if I do that on an exam. It is definitely unfair if on an exam, I ask you to think through something that we've never even thought about. On homework, I'm willing to ask you to think a little bit ahead of me. I'm asking you to look at things before I discuss them because it's homework and because it's graded that way. Like you're not being punished if you're wrong and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. But so question number 9 of the first homework, you almost couldn't really get it unless you try to look up some things, and then you might look up, or you might have a brother or a sister or a wife or something where someone helps you. That is all legitimate. You all can and should get any help you want for question 9 or for the other things, not because you think I'm never going to give it, but you should get as much help as you can. However, the one rule always, especially when we get to the exams, and their take-home exam stuff, you can get help anywhere and everywhere. You should try to be ahead of me in your understanding. You can understand things like even if I didn't explain them, you can often understand things better if I didn't explain them because my explanations are whatever they are. But the one ethical rule of the class, the one rule is get whatever help you want. But by the time you're writing something down, to submit to me, you don't even have to tell me where you got that. You don't have to admit who helped you. You don't have to admit who helped you or what website. As long as by the time you're writing it down, it's actually in your brain and in your comprehension. Like put it this way, I don't invent physics and neither do you. We share physics, right? So you can get your physics from whatever source you need to. But once you get it, you have to own it. It has to actually be yours. In other words, when you write it down, don't report what somebody else said. That's cheating, right? And nobody's doing that here. I mean, no one, this is all in response to something in the private chat, but like you can get whatever help you want, and you don't even have to tell me what that help is, but it has to help you. By the time you write down what you're writing down, you have to get it. Like you have to have been helped enough to get what you're writing down. That's the only standard. If you're writing things down that you don't understand, that's when footnotes are supposed to come in, but then I don't even want them anyway. Like I don't even want you to write down something you don't understand. Write down only what you understand. And if you really follow that rule, then by the time you understand it, it doesn't matter where it came from, because like my understanding came from somewhere too. Like I didn't make it up. So even though I just said skip this section for mathematical methods, like no, if you know how to do the hard section on dot and cross product, no, please do it. And as long as you're honest, then you're on, and I'll be able to tell. Like that's, you don't have, I know some people have backgrounds and family relations and stuff. I'm just saying to everybody that you don't have to, that dot and cross product thing, I don't expect anybody to do until I say something about it. Okay, so I'm still looking.
Professor, can I
Yeah.
really quickly?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, go.
I have to say, you are me and Heaven's favorite professor because you make it so hard for us to fail. You make it so hard.
Thank you. I think. I mean, look.
It's
Okay.
a good thing. It was a compliment. It was a
Okay, all
compliment.
right, well, thank you. No, I don't know. Okay, I do appreciate it. I'm coming, and I know who you are. I do know who's talking, right? I do appreciate it. It actually means a lot to me. But I'll tell you all, it's hard to take a compliment or whatever. But the truth is, I'm hoping that like that is the idea to everybody. I actually am trying to make it hard to fail because of the secret strategy. Like, and I know you all know this, like the whole thing about giving people a lot of rope is that then if accidentally a noose is tied and they're hanged, we all know that they hanged themselves. Like, I mean, I am trying to make this really hard to fail, but part of the secret thing is that anybody who then does kind of fail, kind of unfortunately kind of knows it's their fault and kind of um can't like doesn't have as much place to run. Like hopefully a ton of you do get A's, but the couple few of you who do get the F kind of I hope do feel what Ashan just said, that it was not lawsuit worthy to get an F. No, but the other thing, so yes, I mean, so thank you. But the other thing, I feel bad that we're spending so much time on, I feel a little bit bad spending so much of your Zoom time talking about like these rules and stuff. But I also just have to admit, as long as Ashan brings that up, like, and maybe I admitted this last time, but you know, I'm watching my freaking kindergartner go through this. He's actually even in school 4 days a week, but they have a lot of Zoom school, you know, in addition. And they even use Google Classroom in his freaking kindergarten, okay? And his mother and I are more stressed by his kindergarten experience than I remember being. Like, I think it's more stressful than graduate school was for me in some ways, his kindergarten experience. And half of the stress is just freaking keeping up with the different Google Classroom passwords and links and like knowing where to find, like all this stuff that's annoying, just even knowing what's due for the next day for him or knowing where to find it or how to upload it is so annoying every single time. And literally it's on Google Classroom. Like I thought at the beginning, like, oh, take care. I thought I was gonna be Superman. Like, I got you guys. I'm the educator of this family. Please step aside and I will navigate Google Classroom for y'all. No, it's a mess. It's a total mess. And it's kindergarten and it pisses me off. So partly why I'm spending all this time with all you guys is I'm beginning to realize that half of what's difficult about these classes is just surviving them at all. So anything you guys can tell me about how to make, like put the links in a more obvious place or make the, like whatever. I will say this, I now have a student file. You'll notice my name is in the students, in the student list in the Google Classroom. I'm doing that now because I'm trying to keep up with you all. I'm actually like trying to take all my own classes and experience what it looks like from your end, not on a daily basis, but somewhat, because it looks different. It is way different the way it looks to you from the way it looks to me. And, you know, I didn't realize that for a while. So I'm trying to keep this sane, but definitely do. I mean, I appreciate the compliment, but seriously, anything that you guys can think of like whoever told me to put the links, the Zoom links in the title of the class. I thought that was a great suggestion. I feel like an idiot for not thinking of it. And I wish my kindergarten nerd, his teachers would do that. But so anything like that you can think of, you got, I might be insulted for a moment, but if I can do it, I'll do it because this whole thing is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Oh, sorry. And meanwhile, hadn't missed that whole speech because she was out of the room. Okay. So again, even though I want to get back to thing on the spring today, I want to get to question 4. If there are more questions like this, let's get them answered. Let's make this as livable experience as possible. So I'm going to pause for a second. And if there's any questions about syllabus, about grading, about Zoom, about YouTube. Oh, and yes. So private question I just got. Yes, yes, I'm answering a question. For Wednesday, if you can, try to upload the non-vector part of the math methods homework, but know that you can re-upload the rest of it later. And therefore you could even, you know, improve your work and upload it later. Just try to show me that you've done something for Wednesday on it. Yes. But yes, you'll have a chance to re-upload the rest later or re-upload the whole thing. And again, the one thing I'm not going to do ever is hold anybody. The main thing is you want to stay with me or you want to be a little bit ahead of me. But like, if we're still talking about homework 1, even if I post homework 3, like obviously I cannot hold you responsible for that until we get a lot closer to it, which is why I'm not posting. So yes, please try to upload the non-vector part of this next homework by Wednesday. And just try to be in the habit of every day, even either reminding every day, every class day, just look for at least one game sheet to, fill out your points for that day. And if I forget to send one, you can tell me that. Again, oh, no problem, no problem. And again, I think so far people using my phone number for texting has been working very well. Like I've been getting a lot of texts, but all of them are really easy for me to deal with really fast. I feel like it's helping. So please, for anything like, even if it's just like, Professor, is game 4 due tomorrow or what, like anything like that, feel free to text and say your name, because actually it will be less invasive than a whole big email procedure if it can be kept that way. That seems to be working. Last thing, as long as we're talking about all this stuff, Google Classroom. Oh, last thing is, I know I make a big deal that you have to give me PDF. You have to give me PDF. I make this whole big thing about that and then have everybody practice it. But now I've learned something about that. The main reason I make such a big deal about PDFs is what I'm really trying to say is, whenever you're submitting something that's big, like that's many pages, my main point is please have that all be one file with many pages in it. That's like the main thing I'm trying to avoid, is that you have like a 14-page exam and I open up to find your exam and I have like 14 JPEGs there. Like that's a real problem, because besides just being a big pain in the butt, also like then it's very hard to make all the points work and to give one score for the whole thing. And also then I can't tell if it's like a second draft, because you are allowed to put in your homework and then put in another draft later. And that's cool and impressive if you do that. But then if there's a million JPEGs, I don't know if it's one document, what's happening.
So essentially you only want like just one document. So even if it's like a Word document, because I know like sometimes on Google Classroom, you could put like a document and like you could just put your whole thing. So instead of wanting multiple links, you just want one link or one document.
Yes, totally, very much yes. That is exactly my point. And I'm so glad you just said that, because that's the thing that I've now that I finally am trying to do this from a student perspective as well. All this time that I've been so obsessive about PDFs, I did not realize, and I'm sure all of you did, but maybe some of you didn't. I didn't realize that like you as a student could just open up the assignment from Google Classroom, or even better yet, you can go to that to-do list, which is pretty cool. If some of you don't know, all the way to the left, like there's this to-do list thing. And if you just open that and you open one of your assignments, what I did not realize is that you guys could literally just do your assignment right there. Like you can open the assignment on your computer or on your tablet or something. And this is what she's saying, what I think Heaven's saying. So again, I apologize if this is like old news, but I didn't realize that right there, it gives you the opportunity to open up a new Google Doc or a new Word file. And, it depends on what device you're on, but like, it is true that right there, you can open up a fresh document and once you type into that document, and then and some people mess this up, as long as you make sure to hit that button that says turn in, and as long as you actually see that file as an attachment, and as long as you then double check and like make sure that, it did record that you submitted your homework. It turns out I didn't realize that you can do your homework straight into the thing like that. I think that's fantastic. You're welcome to do it. It now also makes it clear to me why my whole big PDF instruction was confusing a lot of people, because it really isn't necessary. Right, absolutely. If you can open a Google Doc right there and just do your homework, do it. That's great. And I can even go a step further and say what I found out, if you didn't realize this, if you're on a tablet and you open up the thing, you can open up and you want to go do your homework, especially for these game assignments, which I'm just asking you to like jot down one sentence. What you can do is open up a fresh Google Doc there, like within Google Classroom, right? You're going to do your homework. It down at the bottom, it has that arrow or something that says something about your work or attach your work. You open up a new Google Doc. Now, this is crazy to me. You can open up a new Google Doc. It can be blank. You can write nothing in it and just save it, just X out of it. And now you'll see that a blank to Google Doc is sitting there waiting to be submitted for you. It has nothing on it, but it's a Google Doc. And what you can do is click it to edit it. And now what will open up is that blank file. But now if you're on a tablet, if you care to do things this way, now with a stylus or whatever, you can just scroll right onto the piece of paper as though you were editing, but it really is just your work. You can just scroll in like I said hello in the public chat. In fact, I think I put examples like this in there, and then turn that in. Technically, you've just edited your own document, but all you did really was you just made a document with your handwriting. and you could turn that in, and that's it. That's your homework. I did not realize that you could actually, I always thought that all that you were submitting your homework had to always be an attachment from somewhere else. I don't know why I thought that. But that said, yes, Google Doc, Word doc, anything that your device lets you submit to Google Classroom, as long as it's one file per thing, like one link. That's right. And if there's two links, that I'm hoping that would be because you did something and then you did a revised version and you want me to see both. That's cool. Totally do that. But yes, I want like one link or one file for each document, not for each page. Again, that's a very long answer, but does that make sense? Does that answer? Oh, wait. Oh, cool. Right. And that, oh, cool. Okay. So I'm looking, okay. Wait, so was that Heaven who just asked that? And if so, did I answer?
Of course, yes. That was great. Thank you. You answered it perfectly.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so we got that. So I think that is that. I'm going to pause. Well, this is amazing. We just, yeah, great. If we could take 75 minutes to not talk about physics and get an A, great. No, all right. So I'm going to pause for one more minute if there's any other, just to let any other questions happen or sink in. And you can always interrupt me at any time too. Again, I'm just, going to spin my own wheels if you don't. So I'm going to pause for 1 second to make sure there's no other questions about syllabus or about grading or about Zoom or about, this kind of stuff. So I'm going to pause. Okay. If that's truly cool for the moment, we're going to shift gears now. I know we only have 13 minutes, but I'm going to ask one. I know that one person was ready with some work from question 4 last time. I think I totally, and that person has volunteered to actually screen share his work. So I think that'd be a perfect way to transition back to physics here. I'm going to ask,
Hi,
yes.
do allow me to screen share, please.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, do I have to change the setting? Yeah. Okay. I think, okay. Let me see. Yeah, I think you're allowed. I think you'll just override my share, but I can, oh wait, who can share? Yes, you're allowed.
It says that I can't share the screen while another participant is sharing.
Oh. Right. Sorry. Okay, wait, let me change that. Okay. Now try one more. I know I didn't. Yeah, try one more time. I think I just changed that setting. And if not, then I'll take my share.
Yeah, it'll stop your screen now.
No, but that's fine. You can stop
Okay.
yeah, okay, thanks. Cool. Awesome. That worked. We can all, that's great. So now God just got 30 points of class participation for making that happen. That's, oh, this looks great. Oh, okay. So everybody can see what's being shared right now.
Just let me know how to scroll and when.
Oh yeah. Okay, great. Actually, if you could, I think it's perfect. Exactly where you have right now. I think from my point of view, it's perfect. And I totally appreciate this. And I'm just trying to respond to one. So I'm looking at this. Oh yeah. Wow. Okay. So I'm, do you mind, since you shared it, do you mind if I talk about it while you like?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So first of all, thank you. This is great. And this reminds me too, I will definitely I'm gonna, in a minute, I'm certain you'll all see in your portal, you'll see like a game, you take 5 or something where I'll specifically say points for screen sharing like this. Like, I just want it to be clear to everybody that like anybody who does a thing like this will get extra double dipping points, and it's a fantastic, and there's no reason that everybody can't, blah, blah, blah. And again, anybody who thinks of a different way that they want to participate that they'd be more comfortable with, like they can always just private chat me, like, I'd like to do this. Can I get points for that? And then I'll just make a portal for that. And if one person uses it, great. All right, anyway, so here, looking at this work, I do agree with this work. The very first line is really good. I think it's what we sort of spent some time last time talking about. It is correct. Technically, what that first line is the negative of the integral of the conservative force with respect to displacement. Like if there was one line before it, in a way, it would be like, but that's a definition, like potential energy from last class is always, well, I guess I'll add one thing. His negative sign before the whole integral is right. Like what he's writing is right. And it may look a little confusing. Like, why is there two negatives and aren't they going to cancel each other out? Well, yes, that's why he gets 1 fkx squared with no negative. Like ultimately what happens is the two negatives do thankfully cancel each other out. But why are they both there? The inner one is there because the force is negative kx. Like we are integrating f dx. That is the definition of potential energy is work done by conservative force. And work is always the integral of force with respect to displacement. But the one reason I'm harping on this, just to be technical and to relate this to last time, the one reason the negative signs work and matter is because actually this really is a definite integral. Like I guess the one thing I think I can add right here. Hold on. Strictly speaking, this is a definite integral. That's why he's not getting a plus C or anything like that. I mean, he shouldn't, he didn't. Strictly speaking, we're integrating. Let me see if I can write on this. I can. Hold on a second. Bear with me for 1 second. Bear with me for one. Oh, maybe only Justin can do this. I'm not sure. Wait, let me just see if I can. Oh, yeah, I sort of can. Okay. I don't know if this is showing up on your side. So
Yes, I can see
Okay.
what you're writing.
Okay, thank you. So this is a little outrageous what I'm trying to write here, everybody. Technically speaking, I just made a mistake. Technically speaking, I'm trying to write on the bottom x naught, which looks terrible. Maybe someone else can do this better. And on the top, I'm trying to write, even though I just messed it up, I'm trying to write, oh, actually, on the top, I'm trying to write 0. Like strictly speaking, we are integrating from x naught to 0. And strictly speaking, then what he would get in that 1 fkx squared, strictly speaking, it would be 1 fkx naught squared. That's a technicality. I'm not trying to bog down in that. But what I am trying to emphasize to everybody, since we are going to deal with integrals in this class, we are strictly speaking integrating from some particular x that's known, like in this case, 15 centimeters, to all the way to x equals 0, i.e. equilibrium position. And there always will be a 0 in this expression because whenever you're doing potential energy, you're always necessarily integrating a conservative force, and a conservative force will always have some kind of equilibrium associated with it. That's the nature of a conservative force. So strictly speaking, we're integrating from x naught up to 0, or really, well, or the way he wrote, or 0 to, yeah, and that's what makes the negative signs work out. Well, actually, I'm sorry, the way that Justin's doing it, sorry, no, it's actually 0 to x naught the way Justin's doing it. Either way, it's because he put the, sorry, so. But my point being that this is technically a definite integral. All right, I'll stop. So this is x naught, and this is 0 down there. Okay, but then from that he gets that the potential energy due to the spring is 1 fkx squared. Totally agree. I totally then agree that the key statement, and if we start running out of time, which I always do, this statement right here is the key statement. This is an example of what I mean by true, not necessarily like that's a truth that we're starting with. It is true. Whenever energy is conserved, it's conserved that way. And for the rest of this problem, Justin is like applying the particular numbers to that statement. Like he's starting with truth and then he's making it relevant, and he totally does get the right answer. And the thing I want to emphasize here, whether I go line by line or not, is this statement right here, that the total amount of energy at any one place is the same as the total amount of energy at any other place. That is the statement of truth that you also then begin question 5 with. I mean, so his answer is right, but even before we, his answer is right, but it's so right. It's right because of this first line, KE plus PE equals KE plus PE. Now he figured out the PE once and for all time for springs, like that 1 fkx squared is going to apply for the rest of this problem for question 5. But just to, if I can, what I'm saying is that even in question 5,
Do you want me to scroll to question 5?
oh, sorry. Yes, please. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Yes. Beautiful. Oh yeah, and then it's weird, the annotations don't scroll, but okay. Yeah. Question 5. Yes, okay. Yeah, well, I do agree with his answer in question 5. That is definitely the right answer. And it is the right method. If you look at, well, yeah, I guess here's where, perfect, okay. What am I trying to say? In fact, yeah, I'm going to add something. It's all correct. The way I would think of it, one second. Like question 5, I want everybody to see that strictly speaking, he's doing the same method as he did in question 4. He's saying the total amount of kinetic plus potential at one place has to equal the total amount of kinetic plus potential at the other place. Now, what do I mean by these two places? In general, always, and I'm looking at the time, I see we have 3 minutes, but I think this will be a perfect place to end in a second. When I say energy is conserved from place to place, by those places, I always mean one place is a place that you know the information about, like specifically, how fast the object's going. And the other place is the place that you're looking to solve how fast the object's going. So in this case, the two places are, for example, the equal 15 centimeters, x naught, versus the equilibrium position, x equals 0. Those are the two places that we're comparing. And even in question 5, what I'm really trying to say is Justin is saying that the kinetic plus potential in one place has to equal the kinetic plus the potential in the other place. It's just that in question 4, we're able to cross out two of those terms, right? In question 4, in one of those places, there's 0 potential energy. That's the equilibrium place. In the other place, there's 0 kinetic energy, the starting position, when V naught was 0. In question 5, we don't have both of those crossouts. We only have one crossout. Like in question 5, it's true that at the in question 5, like the equilibrium position, sure, there's no potential energy, there's just kinetic energy. But the spot that we're looking for in question 5, we're looking for the spot where this object has a velocity of 3 meters per second, I think is what, or 1 meter per, I don't even remember what velocity was. 3 meters per second. So we're looking for a spot where the velocity is 3 meters per second. That means that the spot we're looking for, you cannot cross off any terms. There is kinetic energy at that spot, and there is potential energy at that spot, wherever we're looking for. We're like, and how are we finding it? We're comparing it to a spot that we know something about. So in other words, you always start with KE plus PE equals KE plus PE, but then you plug in numbers, and if you're lucky, some of those terms will cross out to 0, and that makes your life easy. But you never start, what I'm saying to everybody, and this is where we'll end, never ever, and Justin didn't do this, like Justin's work is right, but what I'm trying to highlight about it is that it always begins with a statement that the sum of all energies over here equals the sum of all energies over there. You never start with the idea kinetic equals potential, even though it looks in question 4 like that's what ends up happening. You end up saying in question 4, 1/2 mv squared equals 1/2 kx squared, and you solve for v and you get the right answer. But I want everybody to understand that by the time Justin got to 1/2 mv squared equals 1/2 kx squared, it's because he had crossed out other things before. So then same in question 5, you start with PE plus KE equals PE plus A, and then you end up crossing out one thing, but you don't end up crossing out two things. So you don't end up with the statement 1/2 mv squared equals 1/2 mv equals 1/2 kx squared. You end up more with like 1/2 mv squared over here equals 1/2 mv squared plus 1/2 kx squared over there. Like long way. But so I agree with both his answers and his work. That is awesome. And then just for the record, it's exactly.
Wait, for question 5 should be 2 answer, right? Plus and
You're
minus.
absolutely right. It could be negative 0.095 as well. Very good point. That is fair. Yes. Is that what you're saying? Negative 0.095?
Yes.
You're right. That's a good, yes. And quickly about the good point, and that's participation too, to everybody. And I will remember, by the way, right after, I know class is over, so I'll put in the new portals, including like a screen sharing portal in, bear with me. But all of you participate today is fantastic. But on that, the negative, that question, it is true, strictly speaking, there would be a negative answer, both because of mathematics. It's true that the square root of x squared you'd want to take both solutions. But also physically, he's right? Like everything's going to be symmetric in this spring. You're going to extend as much as compress. So you'll attain that same speed of 3 meters per second when you're on the other side of equilibrium as you will when you're on the first side. That's a very good point. But I'm good to end right now. If you guys are good to, I mean, if I can get a goodbye. Oh, okay.
It's Dogecoin.
Wait, what does that mean? Oh my God. Wait, I don't know what that means. Oh, I feel, wait.
It's like
Wait, it's actually
Bitcoin.
Dogecoin?
You know what Dogecoin is?
I got like $100 in it.
Well, I could invest in some Dogecoin. I mean, let me. All right, here's the trends for Dogecoin. All right, Dogecoin to $1, guys. Dogecoin to the moon.
How much do you have right now?
How many shares? I have
I mean dollars. Wait, how
Share.
much?
2,600 shares.
2,000 like how much?
One
dollar.
156, 160.
$160.
No, you see that Yaverbaum?
Wait, what is going on? Wait, I don't know what you.
The stock
Is this like
market.
Bitcoin? Wait, what?
Cryptocurrency.
Yeah, it's like Bitcoin. It's just a
Cryptocurrency.
weird name. Yeah.
Stocks in general. Have you been keeping up with the whole Reddit stock thing?
No, I think this must be the topic for next class. I guess I feel so. I have to do it. Does this mean I have to talk to my 17-year-old son and find out what the heck is going
Hedge
on?
funds.
Oh yes. Speak
no.
to your 7-year-old son and be like, talk to me about Reddit and stocks.
Okay, I will. I feel so ignorant now. All right, that's my homework, and that is my homework. Okay, but I should let. Okay, but I see a goodbye in the chat. Goodbye is good enough. I'll remember this. I will remember, and I'll be embarrassed by it. But let's all go so that you guys can go to community hour.
Have time. Good day. Bye.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. I will post this. Goodbye. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye. Everybody good? Sharon, Ashan? We're good. You're too nice, Ashan. You're gonna go to, well, I was gonna say you're gonna go to heaven, but that means your friend. That's not what I mean. Ashan, you still there? Okay, well, I'm going.